Africa has been home to countless great achievements and contributions that have played a role in molding the globe into what it is today throughout the course of history. A pervasive Eurocentric attitude has resulted in many of these achievements being overlooked or mistakenly credited to Europeans. This is unfortunate because many of these accomplishments were accomplished by people outside of Europe. It is time to revise history's pages, giving credit where credit is due and honoring the extraordinary accomplishments of African visionaries whose brilliance shaped the world we know today. Prepare to be captivated, enlightened, and inspired as we unravel the tangled tapestry and give voice to the truth that has long been suppressed: ancient Egypt and the Nile Valley. The ancient Egyptian civilization is widely recognized as one of the most outstanding examples of African achievements that have been incorrectly attributed to Europeans. In spite of the fact that ancient Egypt is most commonly referred to as a Mediterranean or Middle Eastern culture, it was, in fact, an African civilization that developed along the banks of the Nile River. The creation of the pyramids at Giza, which required extensive engineering and architectural knowledge, is a tribute to the brilliance and mathematical prowess of the ancient Egyptians. These pyramids exist as a testament to the ancient Egyptians. In addition, the Phoenicians were incorrectly credited with developing the hieroglyphic writing system, which is widely considered one of the first writing systems ever developed. The ancient Egyptians were also considered to be pioneers in a number of other fields, such as astronomy, medicine, and mathematics. Their accurate observations and mappings of heavenly bodies were clear evidence of their significant progress in astronomy. They created a solar calendar consisting of 365 days, which demonstrates a profound comprehension of astronomical cycles on their part. In a similar manner, the ancient Egyptians possessed a vast amount of medical knowledge, as evidenced by their surgical procedures, mummification rituals, and use of therapeutic herbs. However, scholars from Europe frequently ignored or minimized the significance of these achievements, incorrectly attributing them to later discoveries and developments made in Europe. Mathematical and scientific contributions. A number of African civilizations, including Mali, made important contributions to the fields of mathematics and science. During the time that Mansa Musa was in power, Mali earned a reputation for its many academic accomplishments. When it first opened its doors in the 14th century, the University of Timbuktu quickly became a hub for academic pursuits. It attracted students and faculty from all over the world. However, the contributions of African mathematicians such as Ahmed Baba and al-Bakri were frequently ignored or ascribed to sources located in Europe. African societies had a high level of scientific understanding and invention in addition to their mathematical prowess. For example, the Yoruba people of what is now Nigeria established a complex numbering system that is known as Odu Ife. It required intricate methods of divination, some of which involved advanced mathematical calculations. Similarly, the Bantu people who lived in Central and Southern Africa had a sophisticated understanding of botany and used a wide variety of plants for therapeutic purposes. Sadly, these accomplishments were rarely acknowledged, and when they were attributed to the influence of Europeans. Unfortunately, the Eurocentric bias prevalent during the colonial era often led to the erasure or misrepresentation of African contributions. African accomplishments were overlooked, undervalued, or incorrectly attributed to European influence, perpetuating the narrative of African inferiority. However, there has been a growing effort to challenge and correct these historical distortions in recent decades. Scholars, activists, and cultural advocates have worked to reclaim and promote African achievements and knowledge systems, shedding light on the immense contributions made by African societies across various fields. It is crucial to acknowledge and celebrate the intellectual and cultural heritage of African communities, recognizing their accomplishments and restoring agency to their narratives. By doing so, we can challenge the legacy of colonialism and foster a more inclusive and accurate understanding of human history and achievements. Technological advances and engineering. The history of scientific advancement and engineering prowess on the African continent is extensive. In Africa, ironworking and metallurgy were already well-established activities even before European colonialism arrived on the continent. Around the year 1000 BCE, the Nok culture, which flourished in what is now Nigeria, demonstrated outstanding ironworking skills. They demonstrated their skill of metallurgy by producing exquisite iron items and sculptures. Similarly, the Kingdom of Kush, which was located in what is now Sudan, was known for its superior metallurgical expertise and its production of high-quality iron weapons. However, these accomplishments on the African continent were frequently ignored or minimized, and Europeans were instead given credit for introducing ironworking to the continent. In addition, the architectural practices of African nations evolved into something quite sophisticated. Great Zimbabwe, a stone metropolis that dates back to the Middle Ages and can be seen in what is now Zimbabwe, is a living testimony to the construction expertise of its creators. Great Zimbabwe defies the concept that Africans lacked the ability to engage in architectural endeavors because of its elaborate masonry as well as its urban layout. Despite this, European stories frequently ignored or downplayed the achievements of African people, so reinforcing the idea that Africans are less capable. Artistic and cultural influence. The artistic practices and cultural manifestations of Africa have had a considerable influence on the artistic traditions of other parts of the world. Artists from all over the world have been inspired and influenced by the masks, sculptures, and fabrics, as well as other kinds of art that originate from different parts of Africa. In the early part of the 20th century, avant-garde artists such as Pablo Picasso and Henri Matisse drew inspiration from African art and incorporated aspects of African aesthetics and forms into their own works by combining components of African art. However, the African roots of these artistic inspirations were not sufficiently acknowledged, which led to a distortion of the narrative and obscured the brilliant artistic traditions that have been practiced in Africa. The music and dance of Africa have also had a significant impact on the culture of the rest of the world. African musical traditions have influenced a wide variety of musical genres and continue to enthrall listeners all over the world. These traditions range from the intricate rhythms of West African drumming to the exuberant beats of South African jazz. However, these contributions were sometimes ignored or credited to ideas that originated in Europe or the United States, which minimized the extensive history of musical creativity in Africa. Exploration at sea and navigation in the oceans. The achievements of Africans in the fields of maritime exploration and navigation were frequently ignored in European narratives, despite the fact that they were important areas in which Africans achieved considerable gains. Carthage and the Kingdom of Axum, two ancient African civilizations, both had robust marine trading networks and sailing capabilities. Carthage was especially well known for its trade with the Middle East. During the first millennium BCE, the city of Carthage, which is located in what is now Tunisia, rose to prominence as a mighty maritime empire on the Mediterranean Sea. Its sailors and navigators were highly talented, and they engaged in considerable trade and exploration across the Mediterranean Sea, venturing as far as the British Isles and West Africa. The ancient kingdom of Aksum, which spanned the territory that is now Ethiopia and Eritrea, was an important player in the marine trade of its day. Aksumite ships established trade routes with Egypt, Arabia, Persia, and even as far as India and China by traveling into the Red Sea and the Indian Ocean. The Aksumites were renowned for their mastery of shipbuilding and navigation, adopting sophisticated methods such as the astrolabe for celestial navigation. Because of this, they were able to successfully navigate the seas. Despite these significant accomplishments, European myths frequently gave European explorers credit for being the first to navigate and explore the waters. Even if they were important, the voyages of Christopher Columbus and Vasco da Gama should not be allowed to overwhelm the nautical traditions and achievements of African civilizations. It is imperative that the accomplishments of African mariners and navigators, who pioneered the way for global exploration and trade, are recognized and celebrated for the roles they played in advancing these fields. What do you think of the video? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and hit that subscribe button before you go. Thanks for watching.